How do you feel about a 4-day work week? The move is gaining momentum in Canada. In fact, a handful of rural municipalities in Ontario are the latest to adopt a compressed work week. And recent polls suggest it's preferable, aids employee retention and well-being. But would it work on PEI? Wendy MacIntyre is an HR consultant on the island and is my guest in studio. Nice to see you.
Good to see you too, Louise.
Thanks for coming in. So I guess, how do you feel about, as an HR consultant specialist, how do you feel about the 4-day work week?
Me as an individual, as a self-employed person, I think it sounds amazing, but probably unrealistic for myself. For employers, I think there's a lot of potential positive things that can be gained from it, but it has to be entered in with caution, of course.
Right, yeah, so let's go through maybe sort of the pros and cons. So what are some of the benefits of a compressed work week?
One of the things that I think could be really helpful, especially for rural employers, is that if they can do, say, a 4-day work week, they can get people to be attracted to their workplaces because there's less driving potentially, which can be a real factor for a lot of people that need to work in rural areas. Right. It can also be something that an employer can say, listen, we're being environmentally friendly because people are using less gas, travel less, and it could be really nice for a lot of people who they may see, you know what, I can't get everything done for my home life in the hours in the evening, but if I had a full day a week to do that, that would be super.
Yeah, it makes a difference having like a weekday sometimes as opposed to the weekend where more things are open.
Yeah, exactly.
And I wondered about actually cost saving for an employer because, you know, I'm thinking about morale, sick time, paying overtime, burnout. That all could maybe be a benefit, right?
It could be. There could be two sides to it. So one side is definitely that if you have people working 4 days a week instead of 5, then hopefully they have less stress, they feel more engaged in the time that they're at work, they think less about the drive, the commute they have to make. So hopefully they will just be feeling better in general and have better health outcomes and that sort of thing, so that they won't have as many sick days. Conversely, if you've got a condensed work week, so 4 days with the work of 5 pressed into it, and you miss one of those days, it's 1 day out of 4 instead of 1 day to 5. So that could be the other side of it.
And if you're working longer hours to make up your full-time hours, that could actually have the opposite effect. It could burn you out even faster.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So it works really well for some people. Some people it may not work so well for, and it depends on your position as well.
Yeah, the challenges. Let's talk a little bit about that because I guess making sure that employees have equitable access would be one of the challenges for an employer.
Yeah, one of the big things to consider here is with childcare. So what does it mean if both parents are working and they both have compressed 4-day work weeks of, you know, additional hours during those days? How do they get childcare after work? How do they make sure that the kids have somewhere to go? On the other hand, maybe you're only paying for 4 days of childcare a week. So there's a difference there. And some people might think, if I work a long day, I don't get the time in the evenings with my children after school, help them with homework, that sort of thing. So that can be a bit of a downfall, but it depends.
It depends. So let's talk a bit at that. You know, do you think it could work? Does it work better with certain companies and certain employees than others? And how does that translate on the island?
Yeah, so a lot of employers are actually already doing it. We just don't even think about it. So for example, people who work in group homes, they may do, you know, longer days, shorter weeks. People that work in manufacturing or production, they may do these shifts that are longer days and they have less days to work over. So there's some positions that lend themselves really well to it. The one that they're talking about that's in the news lately is a bunch of municipalities in Ontario where they're actually closing their offices a day a week. And once they make people aware that, yeah, we're open 4 days a week, longer hours, but come on in while we're here, then there's that shift over that's helping people understand these are the service hours, this is how it works, and it's working really well for some of those.
It really is not one size fits all, is it? Like it really has to be a big consideration if you're going to move to that system.
And to monitor it. The one thing that a lot of employers have a really hard time with is figuring out how to manage and how to measure productivity. And how do you do that usually if you see somebody in the workplace, you think they're productive. So that's a check mark. But with remote working happening more often with the pandemic and everything, we've had to shift how we understand what people are doing. And that, again, will have to be looked at if you're looking at longer days or compressed weeks, because some employers might look at doing longer days for 4 days a week or just the same length of days for 4 days a week. And some are finding that actually people are more productive because they're doing that, what's called discretionary effort.
Right.
So they're putting in more effort, they're being more focused, or whatever might be working for them. They're doing that in those less days, shorter weeks. So it can go both ways, but the ones that are trying it out now in the UK and things, they're having really good results.
Listen, I really appreciate your perspective on all this. Thanks so much for joining me tonight on Compass.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.